and I am a concerned citizen and parent of 2 amazing children. Yes, of course, I'm probably slightly biased, but I'm very proud of both of them. And after all, kids are really the reason we're all here tonight. Every good parent wants to support, encourage, and protect their kid or kids. I personally have had the unfortunate experience of losing my mother at a very young age, and I have no memory of her whatsoever. So even though my life has been extremely difficult at times, I've fought through there to be there for my kids, from a miserable marriage to a narcissistic control freak, not unlike Mrs. or Ms., I'm not sure what the hate monger's appropriate title is, but to a battle with breast cancer, and that nearly took my will to live. But I've survived, and I'm here tonight to speak up for the injustice that is happening to one child in particular. And let's face it, there's really only one child who is being harmed, threatened, indoctrinated, or discriminated against in this situation, and that is the teacher. No one has questioned the teacher's credentials or abilities as an educator. Instead, they have threatened to take away their job, their voice. Yes, they are being asked to censor their own name and identity in the classroom, and in doing so, their dignity. The agitators speak of deeply held religious beliefs, but my understanding of those teaching of Jesus were based on love, acceptance, and forgiveness. And I'm not seeing any of that here in this situation. Instead, I'm seeing a school board and administration that is being bullied into submission by a handful of people, instead of supporting the teacher they hired. And this is very concerning on many levels, especially as the mother of the teacher. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Samuel Beardsley. I'm a former student of your newly hired music teacher and a current senior at Mount Pleasant High School. I would like to make 3 brief remarks. First, following the last school board meeting where this topic was discussed, it was thrown around online that some of the students may have only been there because their parents made them be there. I would like to personally refute that. I am here, and I believe that my peers are here, because we have personal experience that is relevant to discussion and we would like to share it. Secondly, I would once again like to express that your newly hired elementary music teacher is a wonderful teacher in both educational and personal capacities. They will be an excellent asset to your school district for as long as you choose to retain them. As an addendum to this point, I would like to point out your first year objective for personnel and leadership: appreciate and recognize all staff. Third, I would like to say that I am sad that this has continued to be made an issue. While I am more than happy to come in support of the individual in question as many times as is necessary, I think it's a waste of everyone's time to indulge pointless vitriol regarding an issue that the board has never actually seemed to waver on because they are already on the right side of law and common decency. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Good evening, members of the school board. My name is Leica Danaus. My schmonouns are she, her, and I am a student at CMU. I would like to preface this speech with the newfound knowledge that the school's administration has opted to violate the constitutionally enshrined rights of the teacher unwillingly made the center of this controversy at the hands of a few online agitators. I wrote this speech before this news came to light, and while I opted to leave most of it unchanged, I would like each word to sting with the knowledge that the community expected you, the school board, to do the right thing, and that the community has been left disappointed. Without further ado, I am a student at CMU and a member of various campus organizations that wish to better their community. That is why I am here today, because a select few social media agitators have made me come here. Having failed last week to strong-arm the school board into violating a duly hired teacher's constitutional rights, the agitators have moved the goalposts and now seek to force the school to adopt their incorrect interpretation of the laws the school already follows. I imagine the school board has no intention of actually caving to any of these absurd and ever-changing demands, but I will nonetheless lay out just a few of the plentiful flaws this new resolution holds to make sure everyone in this room understands how little thought was put into something so important. To start, the resolution commits to a school free of inappropriate and explicit sexual content. It goes on to define such sexual content using the definition provided by the, quote, American Physiological Association, end quote. As you may know, such an association does not exist because this was a typo. The American Psychological Association, the intended citation, defines sexuality right below the definition of sex that explicitly disproves the underlying transphobic ideology this resolution touts. The latter half of this definition, which the resolution extrapolates to the extreme, reads as follows. Quote, it can also include all aspects of sexual behavior, including gender identity, orientation, attitudes, and activity, end quote. This single innocuous sentence goes on to form the entire basis of the resolution. Citing legal precedent that rarely actually says what it claims it does, the resolution claims that the concept of gender identity always falls under the umbrella of sexuality, and thus that parents have the right to opt their children out of any classes that dare to portray gender. Let's think critically about that for a second. And remember, the basis of the resolution is about how parents should be allowed to opt their children out of a class because of a teacher that has pronouns and titles they don't like. By interpreting the tie-in between gender and sexuality in this way, what this resolution has actually done is made it so that every class except the one they take issue with now requires an opt-out form. Because by interpreting it in this way, any allusion to gender identity now constitutes sexual education. That includes she, her pronouns, he, him pronouns, Mr., Mrs., so on and so forth. Every teacher, except for this one. If this interpretation had any basis in reality at all, we wouldn't be here. Most of us would be in court for indecent gender exposure right now.
Okay,
Yeah,
no,
it's literally
we're
the
all
law.
set. Your minutes are up, your 3 minutes. Go to the next one. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Shepherd Public School Board members. My name is Ella Elijah Pryor. I'm a board member of the Mount Pleasant and Pride Center. We've heard a lot about the constitutionality of this situation, and I don't want to take up as much of your time, so I'm instead going to skip to your duties as a public institution. There we go. So, the Trevor Project, in association with Nature Human Behavior, two well-respected institutions in America focused on science and public health, have recently published their findings on how legislation affects the rate of suicide amongst transgender youths. Most importantly, it has been found that when state-level governments enact transphobic legislation, such as but not limited to regulating how individuals present publicly, how they receive medication, and how they engage with formal institutions such as places of work, school, and how their official documents are registered, the rates of transgender youth suicide skyrocket. Specifically, depending on the state, these transgender youths will see a rise in suicidality between 7 and 72%. Now, I need you to seriously consider what has been asked of you by other individuals in the community. You have been asked to enact specifically transphobic policy on whatever basis. It doesn't matter what it is, because the policy is inherently transphobic. And you, as an institution that specifically interacts and has personal relationships with these youths, what is your responsibility to them? You have to protect them. You assume responsibility for them by enrolling them in your school, and you cannot knowingly enact this policy while also forgetting or neglecting that you have transgender students. It is statistically impossible. So I'm asking you to do the ethical thing, to do the moral thing as a person. If there are questions, I have attached a printed copy of the article published by the Trevor Project, and the official journal publishing is available for purchase. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Mia Rohde. I am a social work student at Central Michigan University. It has just come to my attention that pronouns and gender expression are inherently sexual, and in that case, we should all be grossly ashamed of this indecency that we are all displaying tonight, because we are all expressing gender in different ways. Some of you just don't like the way we do it. I'd like to be clear. I was raised in a very small town with the exact mentalities that brought us here today. I myself am queer and non-binary, and that is something that I never thought I would say on a microphone, because I have been so pressed to believe that that is wrong about me. It's not. I'm just a person and I want to help people. That's my dream, to help people. What is wrong with that? I'd like to clarify something I said at the last meeting, and I'll remind you, I ended by saying that in the social work program, the first thing that they teach you is that if the question only has a black or white answer, you're asking a bad question. The question that I think being asked here today is if this teacher is trying to harm students or not by existing and expressing themselves. I think we're asking a bad question because no answer we come to will ever make anyone happy. Because if the answer is yes, it is inherently wrong because we are making an assumption about somebody that most of the people in this room don't even know. And if the answer is no, then we, yes, are neglecting that there are bad people. There are bad people of every race, gender, nationality, sexuality. We cannot be asking black and white questions and expect to come to a good answer. Thank you for your time.
I'm very nervous, bear with me. My name is Heather Waterman. I don't have any group affiliation, just a community member at large. What brought me here was a social media post that I saw that mentioned wanting a teacher to use a normal name or normal pronouns. And when I hear the word normal in that context, it sends up red flags for me that someone's about to be discriminated against or dehumanized. So I felt compelled to come here and support my siblings. I really appreciate that you started your meeting with basic beliefs. And after you finished that, I was kind of looking at your wall and see that Shepherd Public Schools have a goal statement under culture and learning environment that talks about the use of diverse instruction and providing a safe and inclusive learning environment. And I assume you mean that for everyone. I think kids and adults as well kind of inherently understand who is safe based on how they treat the people around them. And even if they aren't told things directly, just instinctively, you learn to protect yourself around people that you feel are not safe. So the fact that you want to provide a safe learning environment for everyone is appreciated by me and everyone who was like me as a child. Can you tell me how much time I have left?
A minute 20.
Excellent. I think a lot of our biases, implicit or otherwise, blind us to basic facts sometimes. Things like learning very young, prefixes like Ms., Mrs., Mr., teacher, Miss. Those are things we learn in like maybe nursery school or maybe kindergarten, things we use as signs of respect to refer to our teachers. Another analogous example of something that we have biases against, I'm not sure you may be familiar with. At some point a handful of years ago, there was a poll taken whether we should use Arabic numerals in public schools in the United States. And I believe it was around 57% of respondents in the US said we should not use Arabic numerals in teaching US schools. I guess that's another example of how our biases can kind of blind us to basic facts. So in closing, I'd like to say I support this teacher, I support this board and your goals, and also I think Arabic numerals should be taught in public schools.
My name is Trudy Shattuck. I live in the school district. I've got one kid going here, one graduated. My husband and I graduated. My parents and my mom's parents all graduated from here along with numerous cousins. I've lived here my whole life. I tried to write something down, but I couldn't make it work, so I'm just gonna stand up here, fly by the seat of my pants, and try not to pee in them. I still can't believe we're here doing this again for a second week. I am aware you guys probably have to do the public comments. I was sort of hoping last week, after 80 people stood up and said, are you really gonna discriminate against a teacher because they want to be called teacher? And 2 people were like, yes. But here we are. So we call Dr. Smith. We call them Dr. Smith because they spent 7 years in medical school and now they're a doctor. We don't call them Mr. or Mrs. Teachers spend 5 years and I don't know, $50,000, $60,000 to get their first teaching degree and usually have to keep going. So I'm not really sure why people are getting bent out of shape over calling a teacher Teacher Smith. Same thing we call Colonel Mustard. Like, we call them by what they have learned or what their degree is in, what they work in their profession. That's not unreasonable. I'm not really sure. If I stand up here and say 9 times 9 is 72, that's wrong. If 12 people come up behind me and say that's wrong, but I keep saying 9 times 9 is 72, that doesn't mean they're bullying me. That means I say stupid things and don't learn. Like, that's that simple. So it's just very frustrating that, like I said, we've got kids who don't have enough to eat, they don't get medical care, they don't have a safe place to sleep, they don't have safe adults, they're sexually abused, they're physically, mentally, emotionally abused. And people are talking about indoctrinating children because a teacher wants to be referred to as Teacher Smith. I just don't know how else to make that any clearer. You very clearly stated the school does not discriminate based on all of those things. So I just don't know why this even has any momentum. If I know someone whose name is Andrew. They've been Andrew my whole life. I've known them almost my whole life. Never once have I heard that person referred to as Andy. If all of a sudden I start referring to them as Andy, and they say, please don't call me that, I like Andrew. And I say, well, Andy is an acceptable common nickname for it, so that's what I'm gonna call you. That's not okay. If you spend 5 years and $50,000 to become a teacher and you want to be called Teacher Smith, that's reasonable. And as far as the they, them, he, she, her, whatever,
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Angie Evans and I'm standing before you as a Shepherd resident and a parent. And I also apologize because I had no intention of grabbing the microphone and standing up here again until certain things came to light to me today. When I stood before you last week, I spoke about kindness, I spoke about the Shepherd way and our responsibility as parents and leaders to model empathy for our children. I stood here trusting your professional judgment. However, I'm back today because I'm deeply concerned by the directive given to this teacher regarding their title. By telling an educator that they are not allowed to correct a student who misaddresses them, you are doing more than just settling a dispute. You are fundamentally changing the power dynamic of the classroom in a way that should worry every parent in this district. As a mother and a fellow board member in this community, I have to ask, since when do we allow students to dictate the terms of respect for the adults in charge? If a student decided to call a coach by their first name, or refer to a principal by a nickname they didn't like, we would call it what it is. It's disrespect. We would expect the teacher to correct them, and we would expect the administration to back that teacher up. By making an exception for this educator, you're sending a clear signal to our children that respect is optional. You're teaching them that if you disagree with someone's identity or preferences, you have a license to ignore their authority. This isn't about a title anymore. This isn't about sexual teachings, come on. This is about the integrity of the classroom. We are telling students that they hold the power to decide which adults deserve basic professional courtesy. That is a dangerous precedent that will bleed into other classrooms and other issues, I promise you. Furthermore, I urge this board to consider the legal tightrope you're walking. Under Title IX, which protects against discrimination based on gender identity, creating a special rule that applies only to one non-binary teacher could be viewed as targeted discrimination. We have seen cases across the country where districts have faced costly litigation for creating policies that treat LGBTQ+ employees differently than their peers. Finally, I want to address the voices calling for this change in the name of faith. As a person of faith myself, I find it heartbreaking when religion is used as a shield for behavior that is opposite of love. There is nothing faith-based about targeting an individual or teaching their own children to be intentionally unkind. Those who use their beliefs to justify the disrespect of others are not defending a moral high ground. They are showing the community the least faithful versions of themselves. Calling someone teacher and their last name is not a moral issue. In fact, President, you asked us to call by the name today, by teacher. That's what we were asked for. Am I time?
You're out.
Thank you.
My name is Alicia McKenna. I have a 4-year-old that will be in kindergarten next year and a 1.5-year-old. I wasn't originally going to speak, but upon hearing the news that this individual's very simple ask was disrespected, I felt the need. This may be the safe route for the administration to take here, but it is far from the right thing to do. In a rural community like ours, we need all the good talent we can get when it comes to teachers. Giving into a few adult-sized bullies that come screaming with whereas statements and their religious explanations for everything is not the right thing to do. I'm deeply saddened by the school district, that the school district decided it wasn't important for this individual to receive the respect they deserve. The correct and just answer here would have been to limit it to teacher and their last name. This allows the respect this individual deserves, as well as a normal and professional title for kids to use. Forcing this teacher to adhere to and not correct any name they are called opens the door for these bullies' kids and their friends to torture this teacher for fun. I would expect a similar statement to be sent to every single teacher that they must respond to any title given to them. Allowing hate to run rampant is exactly how we've gotten as divided as we are in this country, and this kind of decision merely adds fuel to the fire. This sends a very clear message to anyone that is a part of the LGBTQ+ community that you do not respect them. And shame on this decision that was made. Thank you.
Dear members of the school board, my name is Steve Lambert. I'm a parent of 2 current Shepherd Elementary students, as well as 2 more hopeful future Blue Jays. And I'm the son of a public school teacher who just retired after 30 years. Over those 30 years, my mother navigated many principals and administrators, some with great intentions, others with personal agendas and difficult agendas, and they ended up breaking a lot of trust with the teachers and the union and the students and parents in those communities. And unfortunately, it came to my attention that a school administrator here in Shepherd, Lori Richards, shared at a teacher luncheon last week. After parents had been requesting to opt out of music class due to religious convictions, she bluntly stated that parents have other choices. This is a public school. This is the beginning of our inclusion plan. And if a parent has their student sit out for music, they will receive a half-day unexcused absence, and too many absences will be reported for truancy. Now, as a concerned parent, I was not at this meeting. I did not hear these words personally, but I do encourage the board to look more into this situation and ask the teachers of Wynn what they heard and experienced in that luncheon. Because it does trouble me that Lori is using truancy as a threat to force parents to comply with her plan. Furthermore, it's interesting to me that there is a specific inclusion plan, which to my knowledge is not public nor been sent to the school board or community to review. Apparently, it also first involved the intentional hiring of a non-binary elementary music teacher. If that is true, then Lori admitted publicly to the teachers of Wynn the hiring was an intentional, specific act, not a mistake, not an accident, or even not because she was potentially the best candidate, but specifically to start the inclusion plan. Which if you watch the teacher's intro video, which I did, she does seem like a great candidate for a high school or middle school band, and to these students test station, she's a great musical educator, and I don't doubt that in the least. But nowhere in her introduction did she mention her experience with elementary kids, young children or educating them in music. And so I'd encourage the board to look deeper into the hiring practices of this candidate and how this process went, as it seemed very rushed and quick. Furthermore, it's discouraging that the administrator would actively encourage parents to pull their kids out or transfer out of the school district because they disagree with her intentional plan. Parental support is crucial in a child's growth and education, but apparently Lori's trying to alienate a great number of parents. If Shepherd Public Schools continues with Lori's intentional inclusion of promoting all sexualities and genders, as it seems to be her plan, there will be a mass exodus of families and students, and I would be very sad. Because of 100 students left, that would be approximately $1 million in loss of budget funding, which would lead to layoffs and challenges. Lori's right, parents have a choice, and thankfully many students have opted to come to Shepherd from other districts that are very inclusive and promote a lot of these ideologies. There are many options. You can go to Mount Pleasant Public School Districts and have a great experience exploring all of those things.
Okay.
However, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Mike Yeagley. I'm a parent of 2 students at Wayne Elementary. I'm also a Christian. I would like to address former comments about that. As a Christian, we teach our children to love and respect. That means this teacher that's been hired, regardless of how they identify, we teach our students to respect that person. We teach our kids to talk to other students to also respect that person. We try to teach our kids that God's love applies to everyone, regardless of who they are, how they view themselves, how they view the world. That being said, Scripture and God, the God that I believe, says there are certain things that are not okay, and we also teach our children that. Because we love and because we accept does not mean we can go along with things we believe are inappropriate, and this is how we teach our children. They will be respectful in class. They will be taught to help their peers be respectful as well. I also would like to put you guys in the shoes of my 6-year-old. After having these discussions and helping clarify with them how to address this situation. The next day, dropping them off at school, they actually came up to me and said, "Dad, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go potentially have these arguments with my friends. I don't want to be in this situation where I have to have this conversation with teachers, where I may slip up and use the wrong pronoun, where I may say miss, ma'am, mister, whatever, instead of teacher, and then get reprimanded." My 8-year-old is a little more comfortable in his skin. My 6-year-old was very much apprehensive. And I feel like that goes against some of these core beliefs that we mentioned at the very beginning about creating a safe and stress-free environment to promote learning. My biggest fear is that students are going to feel this tension, regardless of what side they sit on, regardless of which side parents sit on. That students are going to be the ones that suffer with the education from the stress from teachers being given mandates that may or may not be good, by parents coming in, by students coming in. This creates a stressful environment. My hope and ask would be that we can address that stress so we can get back to that initial stress-free, safe environment so students can learn safely. Thank you for your time.
My name is Jake Rowley. I'm speaking tonight to tell you that I am disappointed in Shepherd School District for not allowing a teacher to correct a student when the student doesn't use the proper name. The decision to not support another human being feels like a big step backwards. It hurts the respect and safety that both teachers and students deserve. By not standing up for a person's basic right to be respected, the district is sending a bad message. It shows that protecting your students and staff matters less than listening to a few voices. By letting people ignore respect, you are making it okay for students to act out and stop listening to their teachers. True leadership means standing up for everyone in the district, even when it's difficult.
My name is Caleb Ahern. I'm a father of 2 Shepherd Blue Jays, and I didn't plan to speak today, but when I heard about a potential mass exodus, I want to say I am a school of choice parent. I chose to come to Shepherd because of the fact of how inclusive you are. And it makes me sad that people in the public are giving this teacher a hard time, because I came here from a different town. We drive here from a different town every day because of how inclusive Shepherd is. And that means a lot to my kids. My kids have both had said teacher and said they are amazing. And they teach them and are excited to see them. So I just want to put that out there for you.
Okay, if we do not have any other participants with public comment, at this time, I am going to close public comment for this evening. Public comment is closed, and we're going to move on with our meeting to new and old business and our presentations. Mrs. Gauthier, can you please take it over?
Shepherd PTO, if you'd like to come forward with your presentation.